Thank you, Constable Walker. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are located on the traditional territories of the Tsemeth, Matsqui, and Leqamal First Peoples. I'm Henry Braun, Mayor, City of Abbotsford. Overnight, conditions have maintained with water levels continuing to change depending on the location. Evacuation orders remain the same, however, some alerts have been rescinded overnight. We encourage people to keep looking at the website at the abbotsford.ca site for updates as they are posted and as they occur. In total, we have evacuated and registered close to 600 people. At the last update, we had approximately 100 evacuees located at TradeX, and I do want to stress that TradeX is fully equipped to support people at this time. I encourage people who want to donate to visit the city's website, and you'll get instructions and directions there. The floodwaters from the Nooksack River continue to flow northeasterly across the Sumas Prairie, and water levels there continue to rise toward the east of the prairie. This is a situation that we are very closely monitoring. The Barrowtown pump station is operating at full capacity, and as I mentioned last night, approximately 500,000 gallons per minute go through that pump station. There has not been any change at Barrowtown overnight, and again, the conditions there are being monitored closely. City water services remain turned off to Sumas Prairie. Our crews did locate the water main break last night, along with some additional breaks. Our crews remain focused on repairing this so that we can get that critical infrastructure back online. And I hope to have updates on the status of this later today. I understand the Prime Minister has now announced that he is sending Canadian forces assets to British Columbia. I don't have any specific details regarding where these will be deployed at this time. We remain in contact with our government partners, and as we start to move toward the recovery phase of this emergency, as we continue to move toward the recovery of a phase of this emergency is what I meant to say. The city is and will continue to work closely with our neighbors, service providers, and First Nations to address the ongoing and changing needs of our community. The local state of emergency continues to evolve, and we will keep everyone updated as we can. The safety of Abbotsford residents remains everyone's priority. I will now turn the conference over to Chief Darren Lee from Abbotsford Fire Rescue for his update, followed by Chief of Police Mike Serr, and then we'll open it up for questions. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I just wanted, the Mayor mentioned the changing water levels in East Abbotsford. So as the floodwaters from the Nooksack work their way towards the Barrowtown pump station and eventually back into the Fraser River, those changing water levels are still causing issues for folks that have decided to stay in. Overnight, we completed 11 more rescues, and we believe we have one in the rescue queue right now that the team's working up. We were able to get a little more good news here overnight, or late last night. We lifted some alerts in the Sumas Mountain area, and those were due to small localized over-road flooding and some small landslides. So we were able to lift those off just to give folks a little better access around their homes and stuff on Sumas Mountain. The ESS Center is still established at TradeX. I spoke to our ESS director, and she said approximately 100 folks were there overnight. And we just asked that if people need to register, that they go to the Abbotsford TradeX and go face-to-face. It's easier for the ESS team to get folks registered. I just wanted to take a few minutes here and just thank the Abbotsford Fire Department, the Abbotsford Police Department, Abbotsford Engineering and Regional Utilities team. It's been amazing to see everybody come together and just work collaboratively in the field. We have a lot of staff in the EOC, a lot of planning and whatnot going on there, but the field work is really where it's getting done, and I really appreciate that. We were able to manage our regular fire and rescue calls during this event. Car accidents and fire still happen, and at one time we were double our normal staffing complement to manage the flood and manage the regular operations in the city. We were able, really fortunate to be able to work with Central Fraser Valley SAR, RCMP, Chilliwack SAR and Fire have been great partners. We've had Coquitlam SAR and Fire here again, helping us with rescues, North Shore Rescue with the long line helicopter that was talked about yesterday, and some of these other search and rescue agencies use the helicopters as well. We've had Port Moody Fire, Canada Task Force 1, which is a component of the Vancouver Fire Department. They were here. Mission Fire and Township of Langley Fire helped us out with our large fire yesterday. And actually, I've been getting asked, so we actually put in air tanker request, which is something you do usually in the summertime, not in the wintertime for that large fire at the RV dealership. And Conair was able to get an aircraft ready and was on standby. But our firefighters were able to be successful and improvise and get things done on the ground. So, so that was rather unique. And as you know, the mayor, just to kind of parrot his phrase here, when he says he's in touch with the government all the time, I really have to thank EMBC. They've been really supportive, and we're on the phone constantly with them and sending in requests and stuff like that, and they work really tireless to support us. So with that, I'll turn it over to the police chief. And just, one other thing, the mayor mentioned it, but I really should, is just really thank you to all the volunteers that showed up at Barrowtown and other places, and just neighbors helping neighbors. So if we can get through this without anybody getting hurt, I think it's a testament to people's professionalism and just good neighbors helping neighbors. So thank you very much.
Thank you and good morning. And yeah, well said, Chief. It's this community has just absolutely been outstanding coming together, and we talk a lot about strength in community. We have seen that firsthand over and over again. Just an update: there is still over 40 people in our evacuated order area, or evacuation order area in the Sumas Prairie. We are still asking. We need those people to please get out of that area. As you've heard a couple times now, the water levels there continue to fluctuate. We continue to monitor it, moment by moment. But you are putting our first responders, our rescue services at risk by staying there should we have to go in there when this gets much more complicated. So please leave the area. Also, if you have not contacted us and you're within that evacuation order, please contact us. Please let us know you're there. We've not been able to do door-by-door knocks to each residence in there. It's a very large area. Lots of rescues have gone on. So if you're in that area, you haven't contacted us, please do. We need to know where you are. Many of our streets are, very impacted. I know people are getting frustrated. They want to get through our city, but we have to ensure through engineering and other things that our roads are safe. So we continue to do that as quickly as we can. I'd like to also let you know too that Abbey PD, I could not be prouder of this department. They have gone over and above. They have worked, as with Abbotsford Fire Rescue Service, exceptional hours, just unbelievable. And we continue to provide a service. And our community is safe. So as we're all dealing with this flood, over and above that, we're dealing with the regular calls that occur every single day. And kudos to the city staff who, again, just watching them in the operations center is just absolutely outstanding. I'd also just like to quickly thank, as Chief Lee said, when something like this happens, this is a team project. And we have had our municipal RCMP partners from across, BC reach out to us and offer support. VPD had a boat here yesterday that helped get some critical supplies into the Barrowtown area. RCMP Air 1 has provided services throughout this entire event, and that has been just absolutely invaluable, along with the other helicopter services. Also had, Surrey Police Service support us, the RCMP in Chilliwack, Langley, and everywhere. I know the RCMP are heavily engaged in their own actions, but despite that, still supported us in so many ways. ECOM, we know how busy and short ECOM has been. I think you've heard that over the last couple months. Exceptional. They have had to stand up extra resources, breakout rooms to support us as we receive more 911 calls and assistance for help. And search and rescue. I think Chief Lee and I cannot thank them enough. These are volunteers who have been out in our community for 4 days in a row, absolutely just giving their all. And out last night with them, or afternoon, and watching them deploying boats again, freezing cold in the prairies. It's windy and they just will not stop. So we owe a debt of gratitude to them. So with that, I will turn it back to the mayor.
Thank you, Chief Serr. Any one of us.
Can we start with just an update on the livestock situation? I know you mentioned yesterday that thousands are suspected dead. Any update on that?
I don't know that I said thousands were dead. I think I said there was 20,000 cows. Maybe there's more on Sumas Prairie, but I have heard that 2,000 number reported. But I have no intel on that. We have some agriculture people in the ops room now. We'll get some of that information. I can get that to you at this afternoon's briefing.
You did spend some time with some farmers, so I understand. Can you just talk about what they told you so far and some of the emotion behind that?
Well, they need help and they need water. And without the water, with the breaks in the water that we have, we can't get the water. We are doing everything we can to find those leaks under 4 or 5 feet of water and to repair them. That's not an easy task. But we'll get that water up as quick as we can so that they can feed their livestock and the chickens in particular.
We have heard reports of people driving around possibly looking to loot. Has there been any reports of that? Is that confirmed?
I don't have any information about that. The chief may have something to add to that, but I really want to focus more on Sumas Prairie. We are not out of this by a long shot yet. The chief alluded to it that as things get more complicated, they are going to get more complicated, and we'll have some more information about that this afternoon. But you may have some questions on that.
Henry Braun, can you talk to me about these 40 people that are remaining, or 40 or so? Whereabouts on the prairie is this? Like, is it the east or the west? And what's going on there? Can you just speak?
Okay, let me maybe put this in context. So our city is the largest geographical city in the province. I've said this before, but it's 375 square kilometers. Of that, Sumas Prairie in its entirety is 90 square kilometers. Of that, the western 1/3, that water is when the Sumas dike was there, it's breached, would channel to the Sumas River. The other, to the western or the eastern 2/3 of the prairie is what used to be a lake bottom. The water is receding at has been at a pretty good clip for the last 24 hours on the western side. But the Nooksack continues to come across the border and through the breaches is filling up the old lake bed, which is why the water is rising. And even the latest, I just talked to a dairy farmer only a half an hour ago, the water has risen 6 inches on interprovincial between number 2 and number 3 road. So we'll have some more intel. We're going to have some visuals for you as well, because I'm still not sure that people understand what's going on out there. The 40 people are in the eastern part of the valley, or of the prairie, and I'm guessing, I don't have numbers of who's who, but I'm guessing most of those would be farmers.
Right, so this is in the area where the water's rising. that you're
Yes.
concerned about. So you have ties to the dairy industry. You're speaking to these people. What is this like for the people that are facing this, that are trying to make that decision?
Well, they're devastated. I mean, we are talking here, I don't want to speculate, but we are talking in the hundreds of millions of dollars plus. But we haven't assessed all that. But these farms are second, third, maybe even fourth generation farmers. And they love their cattle, they love their land. They're not going to, they don't want to move. I get that. They want to look after their investments. Because a lot of them have lost their investments. We know that there's a lot of equipment, barns, houses that have had 5-6 feet of water. And as the eastern part of the Sumas Prairie rises, that lake used to be 10, 12 feet deep. That's what's going to happen if we can't repair. Well, there's a couple of things that have to happen, but we need to stop we have to somehow figure out, and our staff's working on this as we speak, in conjunction with the province and EMBC, to fill those gaps, because we got to stop that, or if that continues to fill up, those houses will be underwater completely. Does that help? Okay.
This might be better suited for Chief Lee, I don't know. I just wanted to hear about the rain today, plans for that, and concerns about that. And also, if you could just walk me through, how extensive are these rescues? If you go out in a really isolated area, like how challenging is that for crews? It's not, I'm assuming it's not a quick thing to do.
Well, let me address the rain. I am not concerned about today's rain. What I'm concerned about is next week and what's coming. There's predicted 80 to 100 millimeters of rain coming next week, beginning, I think, Tuesday morning, Tuesday night. I can't remember exactly. I can't keep all these figures in my head, but that's what I'm concerned about if we don't fix those breaches. because the Nooksack could go back up again and revisit us. Well, it's still visiting us, but at a lesser degree. But we are still not pumping anywhere near the amount of water out of the system than is coming into the prairie from across the border. And I will be talking to Governor Inslee later on today sometime. He reached out to my office last night, and we're going to have that chat as well.
Is there anything they can do? I mean, it's a river, right? How can they, is there anything they can do in terms of control down there?
That is a long-term, that we've been talking about that with between Canada and the U.S. for 40 years, maybe more. That's not, they can't do anything either right now. They're looking at life safety as well. Same things we are doing over here. That's a much longer conversation. We need to just manage as best we can to stop the water from coming into Sumas Prairie, that 2/3 of that prairie, which is 60 square kilometers. That's no small piece of land we're talking about. And it's going to take a long time. That water cannot drain anywhere because it's the lowest point. That water has to be pumped out by those Barrowtown pumps, which is why they were installed. And so we're trying to, we will have numbers at some point of how much water is left in there and how long will it take to pump out. But we are not talking days. We are talking weeks. I just don't know how many weeks. Whether it's 1, 2. The Prime Minister and I had a conversation, I'm guessing 15 minutes. He has assured me, as has the Premier and multiple provincial ministers, that they are 100% behind us. They will provide whatever we need. We just need to let them know what we need and when we need it, and it will be here. So I take them all at their word, but I've also prepared them for one big bill at the end of this, because this is not going to be just 10 million or 50 million. This is in the multiple hundreds, if not maybe higher than that going forward. But we don't have that information at this point. But as a lay person who's had some construction knowledge, we have a lot of work to do. There's got to be all sorts of risk assessments done on those overpasses, a freeway, and a whole bunch of other roads. We have 30 bridges out there, and I don't know how many culverts, but it'll be hundreds. That all has to be assessed before heavy loads can go over there, or somebody's going to go in the water, tip over and die, and we got other issues. So this is all, there's 1,000 things that we are working all at once, and we're just trying to give you a really high-level overview of what's going on. Did I answer everything you asked?
I just wanted to.
Oh, sure.
What it's like and have to go out to some of those isolated properties.
So the process started, we were obviously trying to get the word out, and police social media team was getting the word out to get people to call 911. So the call gets taken at ECOM. They put that in the dispatch queue for Abbotsford PD, and we try and prioritize, with the information the caller gives, try and figure out who's in the most critical position. So we're helping those in the gravest situation. So then that gets pushed to either Central Fraser Valley SAR on the west side of the incident, or to Chilliwack SAR on the east side of the incident. And then they come up with a rescue plan of how they're going to get there. So some of the challenges when they go by boat is that the water could be very deep or actually very shallow. So they have to drag their boats over roadways or something like that where water's flowing. So they have to navigate swift water and standing water, and just understand, there's fences and things like that underneath what they're navigating. And then when they get up to the house, they do an assessment. They want to make sure that they don't put themselves in a bad position with if the water's moving around the property or something like that. And then they would just put PFDs on the folks that they're rescuing, get them in the boat, whether that's stepping off a porch or stepping out of a second-story window into the boat, depending on the topography where the property's at. Or maybe they picked them up out of a driveway or something like that. I know there was a lot of video of the overpass just off the freeway there, where a lot of people had pulled off the freeway, and then as the rising waters came up, they got stuck on the high point. So that one was super visual. And then in the places that are really remote or more dangerous to get to, that's where they'd use a helicopter. And there's two styles. There's hoist machines where they actually literally have a hoist where they can lower a rescuer down. They put the person in a harness, bring them up, and bring them into the helicopter, and then fly them to safety. Or a long line machine where the rescuer dangles on essentially a rope, and the helicopter pilot puts the rescuer down, and they put the person in the harness, and then they fly them to safety, and they actually ride outside the helicopter safety. And it's incredibly dangerous work, just the power of moving water, and all the hazards. One of the things the chief mentioned yesterday about the water, and people were asking like what's in it, and the true answer is we don't know, and that's localized. So all of our rescuers go through a decontamination process. Once they're done, they wear dry suits, they wear helmets, so that we can protect them as much as possible. And so there's kind of a whole process to it to get them to a collection point. There was one fella, it's kind of a cool story, I think. We took a call upstairs, and this gentleman was really distraught because he got evacuated, but he wasn't home, and his dog was in a kennel. And prioritizing, I believe it was Coquitlam Fire or Coquitlam SAR actually went and got that dog right near the end of the queue. And he's a service dog. And so the fellow just over the moon. So I got pictures sent to me, which is really cool, of there's a Bernese mountain dog riding in a Abbotsford Fire Department pickup truck getting delivered to someone's parents' house and reuniting them. So it was really cool that they were able to pull that off. So that was right, that was good customer service, definitely worth the risk. They assessed, what was going on. They felt it was a low-risk rescue, so they decided to go for it and reunite those two. So did I kind of cover it? Okay, good. Yeah.
Thank you. I do want to come back to that number. I said a multiple of hundreds of millions of dollars, but that does not include the rebuilding of the dikes, and we have no idea what that is. But we have done studies on our dikes, and the bill for just rebuilding the Sumas dike and the Matsqui dike is $400 million as of a couple of years ago. So you add inflation to that. I have mentioned those figures. I think I did it with the Prime Minister too, but I for sure did it with Minister Farnworth and even Minister Popham in a discussion I had this morning. They said that the city, that the province will be there for us. But when you start totaling this up, you're going to get up to $1 billion, I predict. But maybe I'm wrong, but time will tell. Anybody else? And then we need to...
I just had a question about the fire at the...
Well, the fire is not an issue anymore. It's done. There's probably some smoldering, but anything on Matsqui Prairie, the water, where we are, the event, answered everything? Good, thank you. Well, we'll have more information for you at 4 o'clock, or if something happens earlier than that, we may have to move that up. But we will have significant storyboards that will help you to put out visually to the community and to the rest of the province and country what's going on that prairie. There is a lot of complicated stuff that still has to be done. We are by no way out of this yet. Thank you.
Thank you.